I am so excited. Today kicks off the retreat weekend for my local quilt guild. We call it Camp Intervention because my chapter is Quilters Anonymous. We're all addicted to quilting, and so I think that is a fun play on words. And we run this retreat as a staycation. So we have booked the ballroom at a local hotel, and we're all going to gather for 3 jam-packed days of fun and quilting. And I love retreats because it gives me focused time to just work on a project, for a whole day. And you can get a lot of sewing done with that type of focused effort. But I need to figure out what projects I'm going to take. So part of me wants to dive into a brand new project, but I think I'll save that and see how much I get done on my current projects here on the first day of the retreat. So I keep things organized in my project bag, and what I have here is a scrappy 9-patch and snowball quilt that I want to finish and donate to Quilts of Valor. I worked on all the blocks in a class a couple weeks ago, so I'm close to just piecing the top, and then I have to figure out some borders. So I want to at least get the center of the quilt top done so that I can calculate the yardage and things that I'll need and go through my scrap bins for those border fabrics. So that's priority 1. Then I have this fun collection of curvy blocks that I've been putting together because I took a class last year with Jenny Haynes, and these are the components of her hexabore quilt. And I've got all of the curved piecing done, and now I need to put them together in the wedges. So I've got the pattern ready to go. I've got my instructions. I've got all my fabric organized, and that will be another fun project to make some good progress on while I am at the retreat. And you never know, what you may need help with. And having that group of experienced quilters, there's all levels. There are some ladies that have only been quilting a few years, and then there's others that have been sewing for decades. So you just get to, mingle and chat, and that will be a lot of fun. So those are 2 projects that are about at the halfway point that I hope to finish this weekend. And then, of course, I have my Cherrywood Challenge, the Abyss quilt that I have been paper piecing letters for. And I just have, 6 more letters to make, and then I can start the improv layout, and I hope to have this quilt top done, and then I'll come home and do the free motion quilting and binding on my own here in the quiet of my own studio, because that gets a little bit tricky when you are working in a group to do that kind of... Did I just hold that totally upside down the whole time? I'm so sorry. But you can see my machine is still set up here at home. I am lucky enough to have 2 machines. So this baby lock stays set up in my sewing room 24/7, so I can just pop in when I have a few minutes after work. But I have a small travel machine, and once I get to the hotel and get all set up, I will give you a quick tour of the room setup for our quilting retreat. I picked my spot, and it's time to settle in. So I've got my magnetic pincushion, my seam ripper. This is my fancy seam presser. I've got a pair of scissors, and of course some preloaded bobbins ready to go. And I'm going to dig into that paper piecing project. End of day 1, I got my challenge top done. And my Quilt of Valor quilt center ready for borders. Good morning. I am here in the hotel lobby for day 2 of Camp Intervention, which is my local guild's annual retreat. We just rent the ballroom at a local hotel and have them cater our meals, and it is a great experience. I got a lot done, as you saw on day 1, and so that's my project for day 2, is to add these friendship stars to that patriotic quilt, and then I will have another quilt top ready. And then I have some secret sewing to do today. This is the Wild West from Cotton Cuts, and I am an ambassador for that project, and so I get the clues ahead of time, and I need to get my quilt all put together for the big reveal coming up at the end of April 2025. So those are my 2 priorities for day 2 of the retreat, and I'll give you a little look at our workspace. It's still kind of early in the morning, so we don't have our full crew, but we have so much fun throughout the day. We break up our sewing time with some trivia games and door prizes, and left, right, center is always a fun distraction to get together. And of course, people chat all the time and get up and visit and see what's going on the other side of the room. And it's so fun with all of the design walls that people put their projects up on, and you can see just huge variety of projects and work going on. So if you haven't had a chance to get out to a quilting retreat, I encourage you to do that. Get some friends together and just create your own fun. Here is our space. You can see we have hung some portable design walls with command strips on the walls. And we've got pressing stations set up, irons in the various corners of the room, and trying to use every little bit of space around the room. That back shelf had some door prize baskets, more cutting stations, and a local shop even set up a pop-up station for us, so we're well supplied. Another update, it is almost dinner time on day 2, and I can't believe it. I ran out of stuff to do. So I got 2 quilt tops done today. I finished the borders on the Quilt of Valor, and I put together the Wild West mystery quilt, but you can't see that yet. It's a secret. And the other big thing that I had to work on was this pattern. This is my coloring, very wrinkled coloring sheet that I've had for a year when I planned out this project, and I did end up switching these colors around, but this was my initial diagram. This is called the Hexabore quilt by Jenny Haynes, and I have all of the Drunkard's Path blocks done in a couple different colors. Those are the big ones for the outer ring. But I don't have complete instructions. She gave us all the cutting instructions, and then she went through the details in class. That was last June, so I'm kind of stuck. I've done as much cutting as I can, but I need to just set this project aside and work on something else. So it's a terrible thing to do, to be at a retreat with all your projects complete. I have plenty of fabric, so I can just, make stuff. So what I've been doing is I've been taking some leftover triangles that I had from flying geese, and I'm making these adorable Ohio stars. So this is a lot of fun, working with some scraps and leftovers to make things. And these squares start at 2 inches, so anytime you make tiny things, they turn out so cute. So I am amusing myself, and since this is a staycation, I will be able to go home tonight and gather other projects, because I have at least 3 other projects in the works at home, and I just need to load them up in the car, and we can make get to the finishing stage on a couple more things tomorrow. So as I said, I am so thrilled to have this dedicated sewing time, going on a retreat, getting things done. It is so, so nice, such a good feeling to be productive and have a few laughs along the way. So I hope you had a great day sewing, and I'll check in tomorrow. Hooray, I can start a new project. This is Northern Lights from So Kind of Wonderful, and let me show you the fabrics I have selected. This blue is going to be my background. Got plenty of that. And then I've chosen what I consider to be Northern Lights colors. I've got some pretty greens, teals, turquoise, magenta, even some light yellows, all these beautiful batiks. Day 3 of our retreat. This is the final day, and I'm having so much fun, and I'm already sad that it's almost over, but I have gotten a lot done, and I'm working on a really, really fun project today. So I pulled the fabric for Northern Lights, which is a pattern from So Kind of Wonderful, and it uses a specialty ruler, the quick straight ruler, and it's got this groove, and it helps you make half rectangle triangles, and that's a component that I use in a lot of my own designs. So I wanted to see what their method was, and it really struck me as I stood for over an hour cutting fabric that I rarely do all my cutting for a quilt up front. I'm usually working block by block and, you know, just pulling and cutting little bits at a time. So this is a little bit different experience for me, but it's a lot of fun. You can see the atmosphere around me. This is the little outdoor patio right off of the ballroom where we're all sewing, and I got it done. So here's the units that I will be sewing today. So I've got my background, this lovely batik, and then all of my Northern Lights colors. I kept it with those pale colors, and then the blues, greens, and magentas that I've seen in some of the stunning photographs that you see of the Northern Lights. So with the quick straight ruler, I was able to get all of my components cut very quickly this morning, and now I can just chain piece, and we'll see what the next step is. So that's gonna occupy my time today, and with all of the cutting done, I'm thinking this quilt is gonna come together really quickly, so that will be fun to have a finished quilt very, very soon. Okay, I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll be back with a final recap at the end of the day. Wrapping up our quilt retreat for 2025. You can see my progress on the Northern Lights quilt. I got some blocks started. I got all of the focus fabric pieced into the components here, and I've got more cutting to do. Like I said this morning, I don't usually cut for entire quilt all at once, so I did some cutting, and then I was able to do some piecing today, and now I'm at a point where I need a lot more cutting, but my AccuQuilt is the way to go for all of the 2.5-inch squares that I need for this project. So it's time to pack up and move back home to my normal space with all of my tools. We are saying goodbye. We've got half the room packed up and still some folks, so, and we will count this as a successful, such a delightful weekend spending time with my quilt friends in Quilters Anonymous, and I can't wait to do it again next year. Hope you're having a wonderful quilty day. What's your favorite part of retreat? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're more of a shopper, check out this video next, where I share my tips for planning a quilting shop hop. Enjoy!